Good day, everyone. It is a little after 3 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon, which means there's no better time to talk about good old-fashioned controversial topics than right now in 2017. And one of the most burning topics that gets brushed under the rug is LGBT rights in athletics. Going around the room for introductions, my name is Indira Colón, and I identify as a straight female.
My name is Bernabe, and I identify myself as a straight male.
My name is Scott Fabian, and I also identify as a straight male.
My name is Felipe Augusto, and I identify myself as a gay male.
So we're all gathered here as collegiate athletes. We all attend the small Franciscan university in Wisconsin called Cardinal Stritch University. So we're all gathered this afternoon to bring to attention the much needed support for the LGBT community in collegiate and professional athletes.
For those of you that don't really pay attention to sports or anything that goes on in the background besides the competition, this past summer, the 2016 Summer Olympics in Rio, there was a plethora of participating athletes that came out, and this was a massive deal for Brazil, specifically being one of the countries that doesn't really support LGBT rights in athletics specifically. And coincidentally, we have Felipe, who is from Brazil, and he has some experiences to share with us today.
Yeah, well, I played volleyball for several years in Brazil, and having the Olympics was just a huge thing for the country. We had pretty much 55 athletes competing in the games, and the media was talking about it all the time. And I think there was a huge step for Brazil's history in terms of acceptance, because growing up as a gay athlete in Brazil, you really don't have any references. You grow up and you pretty much see everybody straight and nobody talks about it. So you kind of feel like you're not part of it or you don't belong there. And just being able to see gay and proud athletes competing with it, like with each other, and with just straight and bisexual and even transgender athletes, was so good for the country that I think it really helped the LGBT community itself. But the fight isn't over. Like in Brazil, we don't even have a single out soccer player, which is our top number one sport in the country. And I think the reason of that is because they have so much fear about being out, but it's because we don't have a lot of conversations about it. So I think that's why a project like that, it's good.
Do you think that one of the reasons why you don't have a lot of athletes that come out, which is an issue in the United States as well, is due to the fear of not being accepted in the sports team more than in their community? Like, lots of athletes have the fear that they won't be able to go into the league for their sexual preferences.
Yeah, I mean, I think just as a gay athlete, sometimes it's really hard because you don't really know how your team is gonna react or how your team is gonna deal with that. So I think coming out is just a huge step, and it's just something that you just gotta be really brave to do it. That I think that's why it's really important.
Which is interesting because I'm one of Felipe's teammates. We play volleyball together at Stritch, and last year he transferred into Stritch, and it was a really awesome moment for us. I'd known him for a little while, and we were getting tighter as practice and season went on. And he pulled me aside one time. He's like, "Hey Scott, I have something to tell you." And I was like, "What's up?" And he's all, "How do you think the team would feel if they had a teammate who was gay?" And we already kind of knew, but it was like it wasn't a big deal. And I told him, I was like, "Felipe, like it's cool, man. Like it's no big deal."
Yeah.
And so it's so I guess it could be a Stritch thing or a culture difference from the United States and Brazil for sure. But it was just strange. No one's ever had the fear. In my experience playing on many teams over the years, had the fear of coming out and fearing what our teammates would say.
If only really the rest of the world, and specifically the United States, had that view on LGBT athletes and people coming out. I know just last year, a basketball player from the University of Massachusetts Derek Gordon came out publicly and he made a quote that said, "I didn't get a shot at the NBA because I'm gay." And it's almost to the point where it's ridiculous that we're still even having these conversations, because we claim as a society to be so accepting, yet we're almost obsessed with outing athletes and using that as an excuse for them to not be able to play in our leagues. So it's really good that, Felipe, you found that comfort in your team, and that, Scott, you guys were so accepting, and it just shows that we can be progressive in this.
Yeah. So at first, I was really concerned about coming out to my team. It was a fear. I really didn't know how they were going to react with that. And I always had a dream to come to America and get a degree and also play volleyball. So I felt like there was a lot of pressure on me based on their reaction. And I think like the key point for me to really come out and to feel good about who I am, it was the moment that I sat with my friend Scott and I told him how he would feel if he had a gay teammate. And the way he showed me that, it wasn't a big deal, and that nothing would change no matter what, and that just who I was and the way we performed, like volleyball, that's all that mattered. It made me feel so good about myself that I started telling another teammate, and then I told another one, and then I told a friend. So I think that's why I really think that like within your sports team or your sports environment, you should have the support or people that, even if they're not gay or if they're not part of the LGBT community, just to know that you have people that support you and
allies.
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
allies. It helps a lot and makes such a huge difference.
I mean, can you imagine not being able to receive your degree based on your sexual preference?
Yeah, that's something that is like a lot of gay athletes fear. I went to Catholic Christian University when I first came to America, and it was so hard because we've heard that a lot of athletes, when they find out when the university itself find out that they were gay, they were kicked out in the next semester.
Ridiculous.
So it was really hard for us, being just like gay athletes in general, and always like every time we would be on the court, just thinking about, oh, I need to really watch out about what I say or about what I do, because otherwise I might be just kicked out just because of who I am, you know?
Yeah, not being able to focus on your game for something that's happening in your personal life is massive.
Yeah.
Yeah. And just to go along with that, is that something you felt in Brazil too, Felipe? You know how you mentioned how you can't really focus on your game rather than focusing on your posture and how you're gonna, you know, actually play the game. Is this something that affected you in Brazil as well?
I think so, because like in Brazil, we have such a masculine culture that you can, like when I was growing up, for example, I had a coach that we had 2 or 3 out gay athletes like within our group, within our team, and he said that if we wanted to play, we had to be masculine. We need to have a certain posture if we wanted to play. So it was not just about how good we are, it was how we presented ourselves. So, and it's really hard actually, because when you're playing, you're really focused on the game. You shouldn't be focusing on other things that doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect it. So yeah, it was kind of hard, but along the years you just grow up with it, you know.
Did you playing and kind of covering up that just your mannerisms in order to fit in? Did you find that took away from like your team experience? Because I know playing with you, that's a big part. That's like one of my favorite parts of playing with you is how you act after you make a great play or celebrate with us, and that's like I think that helps us as a team grow tighter and bond with each other. Was that difficult to bond with your teams because you were trying to cover that up?
I think so, because a lot of times when you get a point or when you're too excited, you tend to just scream and just be yourself and just like show the world that you're happy, you know. And being in Brazil, and a lot of times have to like limit myself and just not do specific things because I was so scared of just being judged or people talking like things about me, that was really, really scary. But I don't know. I came to America and I lived like, I had like such good experiences with like being accepted in my sports team that I'm at right now, that I just realized that this could be avoided if my team back in Brazil was more accepting and show that we could just be who we are no matter what.
So aside from hearing it was your dream to come to America and get your degree, would it be easy to say that another reason you came was because of the low acceptance rate in Brazil and how it's not very accustomed to accepting homosexuals in athletic events?
Coming to America definitely has changed my life in terms of like acceptance, like in terms of I'd say my own acceptance. But we still have a long way to go. Like if you look at the status, there's not as many like football players that are out. We don't have as many basketball players that are out. So, and this is such a like an important thing for the LGBT community, because once you have more people, when you have like more visibility and when you start like bringing up more this conversation, that's when the things are gonna get better. That's when people are gonna start noticing that it's just no big deal, your sexual orientation or your sexual identity in sports. So
absolutely, I'm glad you brought that up. It is really important for athletes to be able to feel themselves, especially when they're in the spotlight. And us being a culture that really puts athletics on just a peak, like on their own little podium, it's important to us. Everybody plays sports at some point in their life. And for those that play collegiate sports, you want to get to the professional level and you want to be able to do it being yourself and being celebrated for who you are as a person, and your athletic capabilities, not what happens when you're private. And I think one of the big things is, we need LGBT athletes to be out. I mean, if they want to, obviously we're not going to go around forcing people to come out. But we need support. We need allies. It'll make it so much easier for a person that wants to come out to be able to do it if they know that their community is going to accept them for who they are and there's not going to be any type of discrimination or hate that comes their way. And the sad thing is, when it comes to sports, like you said, you were at a Christian university, there are some schools that find loopholes and they're able to discriminate without anyone saying anything. And I think that comes a lot from just allies not speaking up.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you, Indira. I think that's one of the hardest things to fight against. You know, how can a gay athlete come out when he's hearing on social media how there's some homophobia going on in locker rooms? I know I think it was this year actually, there was a report of how Amari Stoudemire, a great basketball player, all respect for him, but he says some very controversial things regarding gay athletes. I think he says something along the lines of, if he had a gay teammate, he would go to a different shower, change in a different locker room, go a completely different way as long as he avoided him. I think just a gay athlete just hearing this is very difficult. I don't know, what would you think, Felipe?
It's so funny when we bring it up, the locker room thing, because, okay, when you are gay, you're an athlete, and you have your teammates with you, it's more about, like the respect that they have with you. I feel like I should have the same respect with them. And, like, a lot of people that doesn't understand about sports or have no knowledge about how it's like to be in a sports team, they might think that, oh, like, he's gay and he's taking a shower and he's, like, hanging out with those guys in the locker room, so he must be thinking, like, other stuff. No, it's completely the opposite. We do the same things that everybody does, you know? Like, it's pretty much...
I love when people assume that because you are gay and you're with somebody of the same sex, you're instantly attracted to them. The way I see it is I'm not attracted to every person that walks down the street, but automatically when you're gay and you're in a locker room, you have to be attracted to your teammates.
No, of course not. And I think it's more about respect, because the way that they accepted me and they respected me, like, just because of who I am, like, in my mind, it makes me respect them like my family, like my brothers. So we all respect each other, and it has never been an issue.
Yeah, and you spend a lot of time together. You don't want to be uncomfortable for all that time, all those 2-a-days, all the traveling time.
Yeah.
You get put in hotel rooms together. You don't want to be uncomfortable on your own team. It's like your second family.
Exactly. So, yeah, it's just as natural as it is.
I think a lot of really good topics were brought up today, especially for us being a Franciscan university and actually having our first LGBT studies class, which is where this podcast is coming from. Not a whole lot of schools do that or want to have classes that kind of stray away from the regular curriculum and the religious curriculum that we have to take. So it's really interesting that they even allowed this course, and really that they're letting us do something like this. It just shows that even with the most religious background, we can be supportive of people with differences. And that's how we all ended up here together. We're all from vastly different backgrounds. I, myself, am originally from Puerto Rico. I now live in Nebraska. Felipe, you're from Brazil. Scott's from California. Berna is originally Mexican.
Yes. Originally Mexican, but born in the U.S., but the culture of Mexico stays with me.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Something you never
along
lose.
with that is, the Catholicism, because Latin America, it's what it is. It's big. And, I agree with everything Indira is saying. I think it's actually a good thing to be able to come to the university and instead of just always hearing the same religious things and over again, you can experience something different and actually gain knowledge on LGBT issues, because to be honest, before I joined the class, I had no idea of any LGBT issues. I was as blatant as they come to just as athletes, how you understand it, how you hear it. And that's unfortunately when someone doesn't take a class on it, or all that comes to mind is rumors. And those rumors are what I think just clouds the mind of a lot of people.
Stereotypes are a vicious thing.
And that's so interesting because growing, it's, California is the reputation is very liberal and just free, do what you want to do. And it's so interesting because I always thought it was kind of exaggerated, but I had a totally different experience than Berna. I was growing up in even middle school, and people were coming out in like 2007 and 2008, and it was just normal. Everyone was totally accepting, and that's, I think, part of how I kind of just came to be so comfortable with the idea of it. It's just been part of my childhood and growing up, and I think as our generation gets older, and we, the next generation comes in, it's going to just become more and more normal, and hopefully phase out some of those stereotypes.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think we absolutely need to realize that we have little eyes watching us all the time. Like, we're creating the pathway for the generation that comes after us, and I think we are making progress. Sometimes we take a few steps back, but for the most part, like I said, even having this class is a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and me personally, being a gay athlete and being able to see that my university have a class that brings up topics like this, like just gays and lesbians and like transgender studies, it's just so good to see how a Catholic university is really trying to make the difference and making like athletes and students just to feel comfortable with who they are. Because a lot of times prejudice and discrimination comes with like just people that don't have a lot of knowledge or really don't understand about it. They don't have a lot of information about it. So they just gonna think whatever it comes through their minds. So that's why I think it's really important for universities to really speak up and express that their athletes and their students are accepted and that they're not going to suffer anything from, like, if they come out or something like that. Yeah.
And teammates, we just want you to know that if you are a member of the LGBT community, allies are out there. I mean, if you listen to the whole thing, we are here for you and we support you, and we want to encourage other sports fans to come out and be allies as well. Everybody wants to be comfortable. And just know that there are always people you can talk to.
Yeah, for sure. Just even just how Indira mentions it, there's always people to talk to. I also want to just, sports teams, all universities, everything, just be a teammate, be a friend, as we hear Scott has been for Felipe. He's been there for him since day one. He was supportive of him, and thanks to that, we have Felipe, who's been a wonderful athlete for Stritch. Took the national. They went to nationals
Filling
here.
his head up.
So
Keep going.
I think this is important. Just to be supportive. Be there to understand, and end all the homophobia and all that kind of stigma that this, sadly it's all around the world.
It's 2017, guys. Get with it.
No.
So yeah, we hope you guys, just got our outcomes of this, the goals, which are to, this issue, it's very alive still. We're stepping in the right direction, but we're hoping we can get closer into that path we so much need. So this is our conclusion. I'm Berna. Thanks for listening.
I'm Indira.
I'm Felipe.
And Scott, thank you for listening. Hope
See you again.
We got to you a little
hope
bit.
something, hope you got something out of there.
Hope something came home with you.
There you go.